When I first took my channel into the direction it's gone now, two of my videos stood out above the others in terms of popularity, many of you probably coming from them, whether it's my video on LGBT characters in games or my video on the persona non-controversy. The one thing these videos have in common is you can clearly see my stance on what I think about the people who constitute gaming journalists nowadays. They're infamous for creating controversy where there is none and touting their own opinions as the opinions of the entire gaming community. These opinions coming off as baseless assumptions as well as deliberate misrepresentation. The latest example being the Catherine remake. Now, there's nothing official to say that the newest love interest Rin is a boy, but it has been heavily speculated due to the latest trailer. Before it dropped, we got a good look at Rin's body, which many noticed the lacking curves that the character possessed, as well as the gender-neutral name. But it really didn't seem plausible until this trailer, where we got a variety of hints, ranging from the pink male symbol being shown at the beginning, Rin's face seemingly display Otokonoko traits, as well as the character's voice and Vincent's reaction to their crotch. Then, of course, the fact that they're described as being pure and wholesome, so there's a pretty decent chance this character is in no way a woman. But what's interesting or more so disgusting to me is how the gaming journalist community has spun this into saying there's some huge controversy about how this character is, for a fact, trans, when there's nothing confirming that, and how the game before even being released is transphobic, given Vincent's reaction to the possible feminine penis, a reaction that's probably justified given Vincent's surprise, and this face is kinda a normal look for him if you played the game anyway. So not only is there no controversy except for the self-created ones by the journalist press themselves, with what we know about Rin, the assumption that they're trans has very little to go on. From what we're told of Rin from descriptions as well as their appearance, they would seem to be an angel or angelic being. They're described as pure and wholesome and wish to help Vincent through the nightmares, as well as possessing wings on the back of their white dress. This also makes perfect sense when you consider her as a direct contrast to Catherine with a C. So given the likeliness of this scenario, you tell me if it makes any sense that an angelic being would have the need to transition, because well, it really doesn't. However, an angelic being looking like a cute boy, well, that makes perfect sense. I'm also of the belief it's a possibility Rin could just not have any genitalia, if they do in fact turn out to be an angel. Either way, whether Rin is a trap, a female being without genitalia, or even the 1% chance she is not an angel and is trans, this controversy is again a fabrication by these outlets. To an extent, you may argue some of these people's issues come from how they find Erica, the trans character already in the previous version, to be a bad portrayal. However, I completely find these claims to be blown out of the water. The main scene everyone always points to when making this argument is where her friends out that she's trans to a guy who slept with her. But this scene, in my opinion, comes off as a very realistic human interaction, especially if you see how these characters act toward each other throughout the game. Yeah, there are several things in this situation you can point out to being unethical, but they're flawed people. It's not unrealistic. Erica in this game actually has character, which is more than I can say for most LGBT representations in Western games, especially in 2011. If anything, I would say this portrayal is actually progressive, though the one point I will give them is that the character is dead named in the credits, which I agree, is kind of a little fucked. But even if you want to say this minor point gives them justification, which it doesn't due to the factless assumption that Rin is trans, this isn't an isolated case either. This seems to be a reoccurring theme amongst the gaming journalist community. For example, I've covered Cuphead a few times on this channel. You might remember that the entire argument these journalists are making is that the game is too exclusive, yet Cuphead's sales numbers and its massive popularity will tell you otherwise. These people speak only for themselves, acting if there's some stand-in for the entire gaming population when they write these articles, treating their opinions and speculation as facts. Now, the common theme here is speaking for others, and a reason this particular non-controversy felt closer to home for me, much like my LGBT video, is because of the assumption that Rin has to be trans because that they're feminine and have a penis. Possibly. This is perhaps something that occurs more when it comes to anime, but video games are no stranger to this as well. Especially nowadays, you see a lot of feminine boys or traps popping up in Japanese media. Once again, mostly anime. But as they continue to pop up, they have this trans label forced upon them, despite them very clearly being boys. Their logic often going against established lore and canon. Now, I want to say there's nothing wrong with identifying with a character like this if you're trans. There's nothing wrong with anybody identifying with any character. They shouldn't need to have similar physical traits for them to be relatable. Identify with many female and male characters, but I don't force my own trap identity onto them and say they have a penis if they're female. We have no right over these characters' identities. They aren't ours, and should be able to exist as themselves. And that's something these journalists and seeming a lot of people in general just don't understand. A lot of these types will ask you to respect their identities, but are unwilling to respect others. I suffered this myself many times, even on this channel. Back in my LGBT video, I was told I'm transphobic for using the word trap, but it's not transphobic. It's just a way way for me to express myself as a feminine guy who wants to look pretty, as well as many others. So all this is to say, I don't know if Rin is a boy. I don't even know for sure if this character has a dick. But what I do know is they shouldn't already be having this trans label forced upon them, as well as the claim that it's a bad portrayal. As we learn more about this Catherine remake, I look forward to learning more about who this character is, not what people think they are.